Hey, Michael.
What is going on, Mr. Paul Chato? Thank you very
Yeah,
much
you
for
need to
joining me.
tell all your peeps we're here.
We are here now. I don't know if they can hear us because I'm using this program for the very first time, and it doesn't look like I don't know if it's capturing it or not. So let's
Well,
see
you
what.
could always go to the live YouTube one and
Yeah.
have it because it's buffering and you can always hear us in echoing. Echo, echo, echo. Mike, hey,
Well,
Paul.
this is chatting with, and it's mostly like tech support because you had problems, I had problems. It's an
I had
amazing
problems with
start.
Discord.
Yeah.
And here a little bit, but
Uh, Chat, welcome. We're moved over to a different upload because or a different live stream because it wasn't working correctly from Streamlabs OBS. So here we are with chatting with. Last week we muted the guest for the first 30 seconds, and this week we have you, but we started late, so it's always something to do on chatting with here. But thank you very much, Paul Chato, for joining me. This is chat. This is Call Me Chato. If you guys haven't seen his content, he does. What would you say? Like variety? It's like a variety.
yeah, centered on my experiences in showbiz. But I do what I want.
And that's what I love about your content, right? Because I do sort of the same thing over here on this channel, right? Where I don't care what the YouTube algorithm says or
No,
does.
the
I just
YouTube
want to.
algorithm does not like you do multiple things.
That's right. But how are you as far as the way you do your YouTube channel? Like, is it nice to you? Is it not nice to you? Have you learned the ways of the YouTube algorithms? Because you do so many different skits, like you do little call-ins, or you do in reviews, you do in
So the main thing that I've learned is that if you're doing something based on a popular topic, uh, almost anything that you do can be popular,
right.
can get the numbers. So, for instance, I do. I don't know if you've seen it, but I have uh, a whatever it's called, a
The TV
channel on
guide.
my
Yeah.
channel, my TV guide channel. So this is 1987, and I have gone through every TV guide that I've owned from 1970 through to 1986 because
That's
I have
crazy.
all those. My mom collected them. I collected them. To me, it was religious every September to get that, from the store and go through what shows that you wanted to see. And I loved TV. I watched a lot of it, and my mom watched it, and we were like real pals. And so I thought I'm going to do, as one of the things that I'm going to try to do on my channel. This takes an enormous amount of work because I also do a bunch of research on it, and it gets the worst ratings, but
Right.
people love it. So I don't care. But
Right.
if I'm ragging on the latest Disney piece of shit, then I can get 100,000 views out of it, easy.
Well,
So
that
it is. It's
I,
it's about the topic, and yeah, I mean, I do the fake call from the
I
stars,
love
which
those.
I love
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, I love you doing those. Those are
A-
great.
And those are fun. And the thing is, I was actually doing that back in the day, that when I was doing computer comedy, but I found out that straight up comedy didn't really work in the computer realm unless it was sophomoric stupid jokes like
Right.
Linus
So
Tech Tips. Well, I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to mention them.
it's right. It'll probably get more views. So early on, when you in the industry, right? Because I told you just before the show started that I've been in the industry for like 20
Yeah.
years, actually a little longer than that. I was an extra, and then I went into acting and talent, and then I went into the behind the scenes. I love behind the scenes way more. And then here we are later. I'm in front of the camera again.
Right.
So starting off, did you always love comedy? I mean, you're talking about the TV
Yeah.
guides and TV shows. You've always loved comedy. So what
Yeah.
got you? What was the first bug that you got where you wanted to be in show business or you wanted to do comedy writing?
Well, I have a T-shirt that has extrovert written on it, and I'm one of those people that's an extrovert as opposed to an introvert extrovert.
Right. Okay.
So, my parents have stories of me as a child barely walking, standing in front of the Lawrence Welk show as he's playing some uh, orchestration, and me, you know,
Right.
pretending I'm Lawrence
Pretending
Welk.
you're
So
orchestra. Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
that happened very, very quickly. Um, I was never a shy child. Uh, um, and I I performed in things in grade 4, grade 5. Um, you know, I think, I was just always performing. There was a thing in grade 5 where Mr. Dodge would, I can't remember how often, once a month, once a week or something. One of the things that he would do is that he took this big cardboard box and then cut out a TV screen out of it. And then whoever wanted could then go behind that box and do a TV show.
Okay.
And it was 3 girls and me.
So it's just, you were just
None of the
ad-libbing,
guys were
doing your own
interested in
stuff.
that. Pardon me?
So you're just ad-libbing. You were just like,
We were just ad-libbing. We
going,
were just pretending that we were a news, something news came out. I can't remember what we actually did, but I remember Kaylee, Geraldine McAlpine, and one other girl. But I remember it really distinctly. And then grade 6, I was a class clown, which comes as no surprise. But I was also very much into science. And then that went through to Don Mills Collegiate. And the big thing at Don Mills Collegiate was a show called April Antics. And I desperately wanted to be involved in April Antics, but the big kids would never let me do it until my very last year, which was grade 13 at the time. And I wrote and directed most of April Antics. I just took it on. And that was great. But I was also around that same time where comedy really started infusing a core group of us, which included the Goon Shows with Spike Milligan.
mm-hmm.
If you've never heard of the Goon Shows, then you're in for a surprise. The craziest surreal stuff, and that was really the genesis of Monty Python too. Then there was the stand-ups, the standard stand-ups, the Shelley Bermans, just brilliant stand-up. Red Fox, Moms Mabley, just unbelievably creative. Bill Cosby was huge for us. And then some of the most brilliant sketch work came from Beyond the Fringe, which included Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, and also Michael, the guy who directed The Graduate, Nichols and May, Mike Nichols. So Nichols and May had some of the most brilliant two-handed sketches that you've ever heard of, and still to this day are quite funny. And so and we had a station here called Chum FM, and at the time in the 60s, AM was the big deal and FM was nothing. It was so nothing that they would have disc jockeys just play albums with almost no ads.
Like 4K technology now. Like nothing's on 4K when it comes out, right? Like FM was that high-end stuff that no one was using.
Even though it was better sound, that's not where the money was. And Reiner Schwartz, one of the DJs, would go off and go for a piss and leave an album going, and then all you heard for 15 minutes was
the little
because he forgot, like, oh man, sorry man, I forgot I was in the pisser. I didn't know how long it was going to be, and
spinning.
But that's also when they were playing. They would play Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, the Straubs, Jethro Tull. They were playing all the stuff that you would never hear on AM radio. And that's why Toronto is like a huge became a huge prog rock center because of Chum FM. And on Chum FM, they illegally played the Goon Shows. And I would, every Saturday morning, I remember how old I was listening to that. And I just loved it, just absolutely loved it. And I've just been involved in comedy. And then, you had the National Lampoon, both the live show, but you also had the magazines.
Yeah. That was like soft core, like raunchy stuff when you were a kid. You were
buy this magazine or I'll shoot this dog. If Ted Kennedy was driving a Volkswagen, he'd be president today.
Yeah, I missed that. I was born in the 70s. Say it again.
Okay, if Ted Kennedy was driving a Volkswagen, he'd be president today.
It's nothing.
Okay,
It
so
does nothing for
Volkswagen advertised as a car that could float. And Mary Jo Kopechne mysteriously died when Ted Kennedy and her, he ditched the car off a bridge. And he got out of the car, but Mary Jo Kopechne didn't. And so for years he was
the car didn't float. No.
Well, he wasn't driving a Volkswagen.
Oh, okay.
No, he was driving some other car. And the thing is that because of the mystery of her death and people not really believing or knowing, and the rumors around whether, you know, he arranged for her death. I mean, no one ever knew. He never got charged. But when National Lampoon came out with, but if he was driving a Volkswagen, she wouldn't have died and he would be president. So, you know, that kind of stuff was absolutely brilliant. And out of that, of course, came the, oh, here's my son. You got my parts. I heard you started. Thank you. Just one? I asked for 3.
You said, can you print this?
But can you print 3 of these?
Well, hit print 3 more times or 2 more times.
Okay, that's fine. I've got one here. Anyways, that was my son.
I saw him on the video for the Minecraft trailer.
That's right. There's he printed some 3D parts for me so I can fix my glasses, my reading glasses.
That's nice that you have someone that combs your hair during the show.
Yes.
Nice.
He's just petting me like a dog.
It's like what's the thing from Addams Family? Right?
The lurch?
No, not lurch.
The hand.
Yeah, just the hand.
The
I forget what the hand's called. Thing.
That's
exactly
right.
That's
right.
So going from the comedy that you're doing, right?
Good night, Ellis.
For like the sketch stuff that you got into, right? So like growing up for me, I would watch Mighty Pythons. Obviously not.
Well, hold on. Yeah, print another one.
I would watch Mighty Pythons, but later. I was born in '78, so I'm
right.
46.
So Monty Python came to Canada in 1970. Even they started in 1969, and it came to Canada in 1970. The first showing was in prime time, and I think CBC went, holy fuck, and then immediately put it at 12 midnight on Fridays.
Yeah. And then Kids of the Hall did the same thing when they came out, and they were on, I think was it Showtime or HBO when they first appeared? No, they were
on NBC.
Yeah,
they were on NBC.
They were late night on
yeah.
And they were like groundbreaking for what they did. And they're and they're from Canada as well, weren't they?
Yep.
They were all from Yeah.
So we started the ball rolling, I like to say, and then Kids in the Hall took it and kept the ball running, and they're brilliant. Absolutely
is there anybody today that does stuff like that at the scale that Mighty Python and Kids in the Hall did?
Anyone close? And the reason is there's no sketch industry, and I would
none at all.
And I would put it to you, even though there's comedy, there's not really a comedy industry. So I've talked about this before, and this is really, really important. Nothing happens in a vacuum. The fact that you might have heard of Monty Python in the United States, I don't know where you are in the U.S.
I'm in Florida.
Florida, okay. Yep. So the deep South. The fact that
where Canadians come to vacation.
Correct. Snowbirds.
Yeah.
A lot of Quebecois go to, they go to their trailer, in Florida, and they got their little budgie hammocks that they're wearing, the little tight ones.
Yeah.
So
I have cousins up in Toronto and Montreal.
So the thing is, in my time especially, there was a comedy industry. You had National Lampoon magazine. You had, and I wanted to be initially a comedy magazine writer and publisher. I mean, I did a bunch of them. Like I'm a cartoonist also, or I was at the time. So to me, it was the golden age. You also had Spy magazine, which was the one that was making fun of Trump all the time from New York. And these magazines were selling in the millions. You had Saturday Night Live debuted. You had Second City in Chicago and Toronto, and I would take lessons there. As I mentioned, Monty Python became famous in the United States, but there was 100 other troops in the UK at the same time that you never heard of. The Goonies or the Goodies. There's just a ton of stuff. Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. There was the Q Show, which was another Spike Milligan a bit of insanity. There's whenever you see someone break out, it's not because they're uniquely brilliant, it's because there's 100 other people doing the same thing and trying to do the same thing. So when this
Right.
Frantics became successful, there were at least another 100, 200 sketch comedy troupes trying to do something in Toronto. We just succeeded.
What that was back then is what YouTube is basically now.
Yeah.
But it's not the sketch comedy. It's just people trying to make content all competing against each other.
Yeah, and there's too much. I mean, it's unfocused, and sketch comedy generally doesn't work on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's just too much effort, way too much effort, and not enough pay. You had a college something channel that they then moved to Facebook and then died. College Humor.
Oh, right, College Humor. Yeah.
And then there was a Funny or Die.
Yeah,
but it's weird on YouTube. It just doesn't seem to work.
No, cats thrive on YouTube. Cats and dogs. That's
yes.
what it is.
So you know, the point is still there's not an industry. There's still stand up. Saturday Night Live still exists.
Does it though? Does it though?
No, it's still around.
No, I know. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It's terrible. It's terrible now.
So that's really the problem. And we have a dearth of comedy movies. And I'm not even talking about everyone talks about, oh, comedy movies need to be edgy. No, they, you know, back in the Hollywood, you had Cary Grant doing Bringing Up Baby. You had Charade. You had Arsenic and Old Lace. You had The Man Who Came to Dinner. I mean, comedy was a huge part of Hollywood's output. The Thin Man. I mean, I'm talking about old shit here that maybe a lot of you people your listeners are going, what the fuck is he talking about? But
a lot of my listeners are in their
Philadelphia Story. I mean,
early 40s, mid 40s and stuff. So
yeah,
there's a lot
right up into the 50s. I mean, The Graduate. I mean, we were The Shampoo. There was comedy, gentle comedy, constantly. Not everything was 40-Year-Old Virgin or I mean, as much as I love the one where they go to Nam with Ben Stiller and Robert Downey Jr.
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder. Hilarious movie, but you know, a theater cannot sustain every single movie. A theater life cannot sustain every single movie being that raucous.
Right.
You need to have a variety of stuff. Like you know, I loved Reitman's Dave, which was just a beautiful, gentle, wonderful movie with Sigourney Weaver. And Fish Called Wanda, stuff like that. We're not doing any of that stuff.
None of it.
And that's part of the problem. So for somebody who's trying to do comedy now, they're probably the only thing they can do is stand up. That's the only thing.
Have you done stand up yourself, or did you always do a crew?
I have. I'm mediocre at it. I am doing a new I've written a new stand-up bit that I'm going to rehearse and try to get up and running. It's one of my bucket list items. I did 20 weeks at Yuck Yucks.
Oh, nice.
But by that time, no one had heard of me. And let me tell you, Michael, back when we would fill 400, 500 soft seaters as the Frantics, and people would come out and cheer the moment we set foot on stage, compared to going to some suburban stand-up joint,
right?
And a bunch of Gen Zs are looking at you going, man, he's old.
This guy's old. Look at this guy.
This guy's old, and he's not saying the C word, and he's
right. You know, you're not edgy enough.
He's being way too nice. So some things I did work, some things I didn't work, and you're trying to figure stuff out. But man, that is hard, going back in time and trying to entertain a bunch of people who don't know you. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, I love going to the theater. I still fight for people going to theaters and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that comes to the theaters that's just not theater worthy, in my opinion. You know, it's this cookie cutter. You know, even the Transformer. I'm a big Transformers guy, right? I hated the Michael Bay stuff. I fucking hated the Michael Bay stuff.
I love the first Michael Bay one.
The first one's decent, and Bumblebee. I don't know if you ever watched the
Bumblebee. Loved it. Absolutely loved Bumblebee.
That's the best one. Okay. Yeah. Everything else is just a cookie cutter Marvel-esque type of, you know,
noise.
Bring the director in at the last second, direct the actors, and then, you know, put it together. It's already made for them. and I hate it. I hate it. I hate like the Fast and Furiouses. I hate all that stuff. But even my child will be like, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was just, and they just sitting there. It's like you're just like shoving popcorn in your mouth, but there's no substance there. There's no. I.
But there doesn't need to be for those.
I don't know. But aren't you
Flash
just
Gordon
tired?
had no substance.
I know, but Flash Gordon come on. Flash Gordon blows any of the Transformers movies or
you know what?
Fast and Furious out of the water.
The rule of show business.
It's like cheesy, but yet good.
The rule of show business, if it brings in people, it doesn't matter how good it is.
I know, but when you were a kid, right, and you fantasize like you wanted to grow up to be a comedian or whatever because you saw something on television, right?
Right.
Do you think someone looks at Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious or Optimus Prime and Transformers is like, oh, I can't wait to be like Vin Diesel in a movie? Like, I don't know.
It wasn't my thing, so I can't tell you.
I get that, but I don't know. I just feel like when you watch the movie, you're like, man, that's funny. I want to make stuff like that, right? Like,
well, except look at if I'm into anime, and I used to watch Sailor Moon with my daughter.
Okay,
it's crap, but she was transfixed. She loved it. It was wonderful anime crap. The same, just like Moomin Rider. What's the motorcycle? They've done a bajillion motorcycle live action shows. I have to remember it. And all they're doing is
the problem. You can't remember because they're all the same.
Oh, they're the same. They're exactly the same.
Yeah.
Power Rangers. So this, I think if something is done simply and with good intent and is fun and is kind of vaguely cheesy, I think that's great. I think the subsequent Transformer movies, the problem was that I couldn't tell who was who. They all looked
garbled mess of
they were like just masses of steel, and I think even Michael Bay admitted that he fucked up. He went, "Oh, okay, no, you're right. No one can tell who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, because they're now all way too shiny, way too."
But he made all the bad guys gray and silver, and he made all the good guys with color. That's how you.
Well, he took that out. He made them less colorful. So yeah. So as a network executive, I make the joke that I had only had one job, and that was to keep my job. Right. I don't care the quality of the shit. It didn't matter. I only had one job, keep my job.
How many years were you an executive
cynical, for? But you try your best to make something good, but you have no idea. You don't know what works or not. Brandon Tartikoff. Pardon me?
How many years were you an executive?
3.
And how did you get that job? And don't say apply.
So when the Frantics ended our 10 years, our TV show was canceled, which was a blow. And we became well known on Dr. Demento. We won 2 years as best sketch using the boot to the head sketch was best. Taekwon Leap was voted best sketch 2 years in a row. Met the doctor, great guy, very supportive. And so after 10 years, and then we did the best live show, most well-received live show that we had ever done, the Frantics Walk Upright, A Journey Through History. And that ran for a good long time in Toronto. They even upgraded us to a much bigger theater with 600 seats and things like that. And we ran that. And then after that, we went, okay, our options are now to tour Canada, which is brutal. It's a big country. There are more places to play in Pennsylvania within 10 miles of each other than in all of Canada.
Did you when you were traveling, did you have kids at that time, or is this before? No. Okay.
Before kids. But we were all married by that time. And that was also a factor in that. Touring is brutal for a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So I went, we went 10 years. We had a really good run. Let's end it on a high note. And I'm going to split because I don't want to get divorced because I could tell that this was not good for my marriage. And then I got an offer from the CBC to join them as a trainee executive. And then eventually I became head of TV comedy. And then one of the things that I did as part of the head of TV comedy, because we did sketch really well, but we did sitcom brutally bad.
Okay.
So I went why are things so bad in Canada? So there was 2 functions. One, the shows weren't funny, and not the acting was good, but the shows weren't funny, and they looked like shit. And you could tell a Canadian sitcom. You could just tell. And I went, okay, one of the goals that I've got is to make sure that at least technically people, the moment they see it, they don't go, ugh, it's a Canadian sitcom.
Yeah.
But they do that subconsciously. So I went to the United States and phoned the Mary Tyler Moore production office, the people behind All in the Family, MASH, and then I just made meetings with all these people, and I tried particularly to get meetings with expat Canadians, which included Burt Metcalf, who directed like a third of the MASHes, Stan Daniels, that did Mary Tyler Moore, Taxi, brilliant, funny guy. And then, I just met with a whole crap ton of Canadians. And
so what year was this about? Was this early 80s?
1989, 90, 91.
Okay.
And then I went to see Family Ties. I went to see Cheers. I went to see Barney Miller. I mean, this was just an unbelievable, phenomenal era. In fact, when I was going through the Paramount lot, I took a wrong turn and ended up in the Cheers set instead of the Family Ties set. So I had seats for Family Ties because I made arrangements as an executive. They gave me seats, and I ended up on the Cheers set by accident. And it's like darkened except for a crack in one of the big sliding doors. And I just walked into the bar and I sat in Norm's seat.
Oh,
and
nice.
I just sat there for about, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. And then I got scared that security is going to come.
Yes, security's going to kick you out.
Kick me out. And then
you didn't take your cell phone out and take a picture of yourself?
There was no cell. Well, I know. I had the Radio Shack brick.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's no pictures on that. Yeah.
No pictures on that.
Yeah,
so
that's what I love about that time.
I could have. And that was just magical. So then I left and saw the 2 days of taping at Family Ties and saw Michael J. Fox and other Canadians.
I met him later in life after he was diagnosed and stuff.
Nice guy.
Super nice guy.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, he's one of the nicest celebrities I've ever met in my entire life. Just super down to earth, and he's self-deprecating in when he makes jokes and stuff like that. He came to a convention here and he was talking about stuff, and just such a nice guy. I was really glad I met him. I wish I met him before he was all not what he was, but
no, it's
still an honor to meet him.
He didn't give me much time on Family Ties. He was busy with the show. But I mean, I knew from my from performing on the same stage with him. Jim Carrey, Howie Mandel, and
you ever meet Robin Williams?
The Robert Williams, the agent?
No, the actor.
Robert Williams. No, don't know him.
You don't know Robert Williams? Am I saying the wrong name? Like
maybe
Popeye and
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. Yeah,
I thought you said Robert.
No, Robin Williams.
No, I did meet Robin.
I was like, am I living in an alternate universe?
Sure you said Robert Williams, and he's a Canadian. We're talking about Canadian. McDonald. He was on the stand-up. Brilliant guy. We were good friends, except he did block me on Twitter.
Did he?
Yeah, the bugger. I complained because he would only talk about golf, and I said, I'm not interested. So, but he's dead now. I don't care. I win. And I knew his manager. I mean, it was good. So Robin Williams, I did meet him once. So back in the day, one of the things at Second City in Toronto, when you were a very poor actor comedian, is that during the week, Tuesdays through Thursdays, Friday they had a 2-show, and Saturday they had 2 shows, so they didn't have an improv evening. But on the evenings that they did improv, where they worked out what the next show was going to be and came up with new stuff, if enough of the audience left during the paid show, you could line up and get in to see the improv section, which could go on for an hour.
Right.
So I was paying $7 a week to train at Second City at the time and be yelled at by one of Chicago's finest alcoholics. And then one evening, Robin Williams showed up. And as they were doing their improv sets, and some of the sketches by this time were already set. Now they were pretending, they were taking suggestions from the audience, but it was bullshit by this time. And then they would just rehearse their sketches that they were going to put on for the next show. So as they were tightening things up, but Robin Williams went on stage and just completely screwed them up. And it would come on as a character, and it forced them to start improving, like get out of the rote, and it was just a phenomenal evening as Robin Williams inserted himself in all the pre-rehearsed sketches and forced them to start improving as the way they could. I mean, there was they were fantastic. And then that was done, and I overheard. So I was now in the scrum with everybody else. And Robin Williams said, well, I hear I want to go see my friend Levon Helm. He's playing at the Hard Rock. Does anyone know where it is? I said, yeah, that's on my way home. It's a 20-minute walk from Lombard. I'll take you. He went, okay. So I walked with Robin Williams from,
that's cool,
20 minutes from Second City up Yonge Street, and we're chatting. And I purposely avoided business. Like I talked about like fishing.
Right.
Talked about like winding lures and anything.
He's probably like, why is this guy talking about lures?
No, well, I don't know. But he actually invited me up to see Levon's set. But I went, you know what? I'm going to be a third wheel. This has been a really great time. I'm not at his level. What am I going to talk about? Like,
do you ever regrets of that you didn't take it up on his offer? No,
because then I'd probably have become obnoxious.
Right.
This was like, I got the intro, the antipasta, and it was good. And I thought, I'm like, I mean, there's, people who are normal have a internal clock about overstaying their welcome. I think, like, you've met famous people.
Yep.
At
I
some
don't get
point,
starstruck at all. Yeah.
I do, but it depends on who it is. But
I used to when I first started. Yeah.
Right. But even then, you probably would say hi, say a few things, and then you wouldn't impose yourself on them because you didn't want to seem like an asshole.
Yeah. On the set, I spend more time with the celebrities than our publicists when they're filming, because on set, most of the time it's just the camera guys and them and the director and whatnot. And while we're waiting for a light switch or change or, pulling focus and getting measurements and whatnot, you're bullshitting with them. You're talking with them, and they're just normal people. You know what I mean? Like, they're just doing their thing. I would get in the very early stages. My first job out of being an actor and into the behind the scenes, I was a gaffer, right? I was a grip, right? And I was just standing on the beach. I was down in South Beach, Miami, and I was 21, right? And I was just so new at this, and I was just like, they were doing a Wyclef Jean music video on South Beach, and there had to be 1,000 like gorgeous women, just gorgeous women, right?
Yeah, I've stayed there.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there like a sandbag, just holding a light like this. This is my job, right? I'm like, what is this fucking light even doing, right? Because we're outside. Like, what is this light doing? You know what I mean? But it's just a little bounce board. They would go off of it and whatnot. And the guy next to me had been in the industry for like 30 plus years. Grouchy, angry man, getting paid union rate, like probably $450, an hour or whatever.
Wow.
Right? He's just
tough.
Like, just right. If you move this, he's charging you more money, right? I'm just the new guy on the thing. He's pissed off, grouchy, and everything, and I'm like, smile from ear to ear. I'm like, this is fucking amazing. I was like, you get paid for this, right? I think I made $200 for the day for that, and he was so angry and so aggravated about this whole situation. I don't know if it was the sand going up his ass crack or something. I don't know, right? And I was just like, how can he be so angry about this? And there's celebrities, tons of celebrities, right? And I'm like, this is the greatest job in the world. Now, obviously, 20 years later, I am that grouchy guy on the set where, I'm just like, how long are we taking this shot for? Like, come on, let's get your shit together. You know what I mean? Like, and I totally understand where he came from for what I started as, and it just beats you down as you're in the industry. So when I first met celebrities, I was like bright eye, like, oh my God, this is amazing. But then as, year 6, 10, 12, I'm just like, hey, what's going on, Bill? What's going on? I would Bill Engvall or anybody else, that I would work with. I worked with Hulk Hogan. I've worked with, so many people. I think it's blessed. Right? I got to work with, which is funny, I think now, Johnny Depp's ex-wife now,
Oh yes, I know.
Amber. What the hell's
Amber
her
Heard.
name? Yes, Amber Turd, as everyone calls her now. Yeah, I was her. It was my last gig before I went to the camera union. It was 2007, and I was her like assistant. Like I got to walk her dog and give all the celebrities and stuff on set, like water. I was a PA, but I was doing second AD work, but only getting paid $100 a day, right? And I worked 22, 24 hours a day for 60 days. Like it was ridiculous. And now I look back at it, and all those kids that were in that movie are now bigger celebrities, or
Right.
And so when I knew them, they were nobody, and now they're
alcoholics.
Right. Now they're drug addicts, and
Yeah.
they don't know what gender they are anymore or anything like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
No, that's no one knows anymore.
Yeah.
No one knows that anymore. Yeah, it's a very interesting industry. Good actors work hard, and just the mere fact that they've got to turn it on the moment the cameraman or the director says, "Let's go." That's really hard.
Can't make eye contact with some of them. They're in the zone, and if you make eye contact with them, like they lose it. Some people lose it. Other people don't care. Yeah.
Hey, hi, how are you? Good to see you. What's going on?
Hey, can you sign this for me? Can you get a picture with me? I don't do. It's funny. If I died tomorrow, no one would know I would work in the industry, because I never take pictures with any of the people I work with. I just don't bother to ask.
The thing is, so that's an interesting point, because we're not doing his website anymore. I still have my website business. And we did a set decorator here in Toronto that was well known, but now getting his ass kicked, because the young kids who were moving into his business had no problem with doing selfies constantly with every single famous person. And generally speaking, the famous people were also in that, Gen Z kind of milieu, and happy to, like, they for them, it wasn't obnoxious.
Right. Yeah.
And this guy would refuse to do it. I'm going, dude, you're going to have to get with the program.
Right.
And you're going to have to, because, show business is, it's, I don't know, I call it kind of celebrity whoring. I mean, you're exploiting people all the time, and they want to be exploited, and they get it. And the new directors and the new people who are coming up in the business and getting involved in productions was looking at his dry little pruny website, and wanted to go with people who had Instagram accounts, and they were promoting themselves. And this set decorator actually has 10 million subscribers on, so I'm actually going to use that person, because that person might bring their audience over to this shitty little movie that I'm doing. So this guy, and he eventually fired us, because I kept like bugging him, saying, the reason you're losing your work is because of this and this and this, and you don't want to hear it anymore. And so I understand it. I'm a 7-year-old guy, but I totally, I can understand just what you need to do to promote yourself. So, so I did that. Burt Metcalf was wonderful. I saw a bunch of half-done movies at the director's theater in LA, where they would screen partial edits to other Friedkin and other, slackers, who would then make notes and then give them to Spielberg or whatever. So I saw a half-done Spielberg movie that,
as an executive, what was your best and worst thing that you've greenlit?
Well, that's interesting. Everything that I did failed. No, that's not true. In fact, maybe
Failed like out of the gate, or didn't last more than like 2 years or
only
anything like that?
one lasted 2 years. And the one that people were the most reviled about, which was a show called Mosquito Lake, which was about cottage country. It was actually ratings wise the most popular, but the CBC didn't like having a show that was like
Popular.
well three's no popular, but so three's company-ish.
Okay.
You
That
know,
was too risque for them as far as.
not silly, like like it's embarrassing. It's
Oh, I
not
see what you're
All in
saying.
the Family. It's it's not Cheers.
I got you.
So there's different what's the like the guys who dressed up as women. What was that sitcom?
Tootsie, not Tootsie.
Bosom Buddies.
Bosom Buddies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bosom
that
Buddies.
was hugely embarrassing to watch.
Right.
And to a certain degree, even Happy Days.
Yeah.
So there's this different class of thing. And I remember the head of English television, who was a French Canadian, which only in Canada would they hire a French Canadian to run English language television. You couldn't have it the reverse in Canada. He brought me into his office and he said, I don't like this Mosquito Lake. It is not the kind of show that is appropriate for the CBC. I said, you mean one that's popular and people like?
Well, that's what I said to you. I said, but
that's immediately what I said.
Yeah.
And then he just stared at me, and I just let myself out.
So here's a perfect. I talked about my behind the scenes all the time to people, and we talk about video games and stuff, and we talk about how a game can come out and they're like, oh, it failed, and I was like, you guys don't understand how many movies and TV shows fail before they find the one. Right. And they do tests and screenings, and there's so many things they do. So when you were an executive, like how many would come across your table or to make, and how many actually got made, and how many just got tossed, or how many got put behind or were made that put on the shelf for later? You know what I mean?
Well, so for instance, we could never afford what you guys in the US did at the time, where you would commission 100 scripts, shoot 20 shows, air 4 of them,
right?
Cancel
One
3.
makes it. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that was insane, but that's where the success came from, which is what Hollywood has stopped doing. And I have often said that the industry survived not based on what succeeded, it was based on pilot season.
Yeah,
because of just the amount of people that was involved with pilot season. They've killed that. They've killed Hollywood because they're not cranking out a bunch of stuff that never makes it to air. CBC did not have the money or the wherewithal to do that. And while we had the acting talent, it was really clear to me we didn't have the writing talent at the time. I think we do now, but we didn't at the time. So I read about 1,100 scripts.
Wow.
While I was there. My joke is that if I turned everyone down, I would have had 100% success record.
Right.
So I had to green light some things, and a few came across my desk that I thought were really, really funny. And then we tried it, and I even had Burt Metcalf direct one group of shows, and it sucked. It didn't work for any number of reasons. I'm not going to get into it. And then we did another one with Don Herron, who was maybe one of the biggest stars in Canada. He was huge in Hee Haw, and that didn't work. I loved the idea. It just didn't gel. We even tested it, and the creatives behind it were furious with me when I said, no, we're not going ahead with it. 2 expat, actually Americans who worked a lot in Canada. So we all consider them Canadian. They lived in Canada. Talented people, went off to work with Sandra Bullock after their show didn't work. But I tried my best, and we tried 4 different shows. One succeeded, but failed because it succeeded.
Is there something that when you watch films and watch television shows, because working on the back end, like I can't watch television and movies the same because I know
Sure.
so much. Like when they do certain shots or do a pickup shot or the B-roll shot or the audio, and when they go behind someone's shoulder and the person that's talking, their mouth is not moving, like it drives me insane. Is there stuff like that as working in comedy or working as an executive that when you watch something, you're like, oh, I would definitely not have done that, or I hate when they do this?
Well, I mean, as an executive, I'm pretty lenient if they got most of the bits right, because I know how hard it is to get 100%.
Right.
Right. I mean, even the WandaVision, well, not WandaVision, even Agatha All Alone, which all my
all alone.
peers are pillaring. I applied my green light or not.
Yeah, I watched yours, and you said, yeah, you said you would greenlit it.
I would greenlit it in the same way that I know, to me, I envision, even though it has only a one, that the 9 shows they're doing was all they were ever going to do, but that's my fun. This is my shtick. I do this. No one else does this. I'm going to treat this like a series. Does it have the legs to do it? What bits and pieces are needed for a series? Which again, it makes me a little bit different from everybody else on YouTube complaining about something. And my point was, I liked all the actors. I didn't mind the gay stuff at all. It wasn't overt in the first 2 episodes. I actually liked the gay male. I can't remember his name. I thought he was charming. So they all had really good presence on TV compared to most of the actors in The Acolyte, which was like, I wouldn't even have hired Amanda Stenberg.
I say that all the time. I say actors. I was like, this person did a good job, but this person didn't do a good job. They're like, what are you talking about? I love that guy. I was like, you don't understand. If there's 3 actors on stage, one's going to be the best, one's going to be the second best, and one's going to be the last. It's not shitting on the person that's bad. You're just like, no, that person just didn't do a better role than the other 2 people on stage, right? So there's a lot of people like that in the Star Wars films. There's a lot of people like that in the Marvel films and shows, where the character seems like it would be written good, but the character or the actor playing that person or the way they're being directed just doesn't land with that. Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people don't understand that.
I think Daisy Ridley was luminous, but they turned her into a girl boss, an infallible girl boss.
Right. Like I think she did a fine job. I just don't like the way the character.
No, I totally agree.
With John Boyega's character in the.
Oh, like, they couldn't figure out his character.
So much potential when they showed him.
No, over 3 movies they had. Yeah, but over 3 movies they had 3 different versions of him.
It's so
the lovelorn one, and anyway, doesn't matter. So in TV, I have this simple theory is that you're just bringing a friend into the living room. They don't have to be brilliant, which is why Three's Company worked. John Ritter was just so cash, and that's what you're looking for. But also back in my day, an executive, my boss, would bring me into the room and he would throw a bunch of audition tapes for a police show that people were auditioning for, and he was going through the actresses. And then he would ask me, okay, Paul, which one's fuckable? And I'd go,
well, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And I'd go, okay, that one. And they go, okay. And then he'd bring in the secretaries and put on the tapes of good looking men. And he'd say the same thing to them. And the women would go, oh, I like him and whatever.
Yep.
So, I mean, the metric was really, really simple. Now in Rings of Power, every woman is dressed up like a man. They don't wear makeup. They're covered in shit. And there's nobody attractive. You need to have attractive people in entertainment. I'm sorry. They can't all, look like Monty Python characters from,
right. If you're not attractive, you better be funny. Right. You better be funny if you're not attractive.
You better be funny. So I don't like the way women are treated in these new shows. But, so Agatha, I thought the cast is just really good. They're all really good. And the premise wasn't strong. But then again, I come from the era where I met Brandon Tartikoff and, he put Manimal on the air. So I'm thinking of Greenlight in that way. I'm going, okay, I've got this slot. The shows on ABC and NBC are all male-oriented. Okay, so I'm going to do counter-programming. I need a show that women are going to be interested in. So my thought process is, well, this Agatha all along, that fits that. It's counter programming.
Right.
And so I said, yes, I would green light this. It's only 10 shows, and then I could cancel it in 3. But I mean, that
tax
from a
write-off.
network perspective, it made sense to green light it.
Well, a lot of people don't
'Cause you just
understand
don't know.
either. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that these companies have to spend money because they have to show their they have to spend the money. They have all this millions of dollars coming in. They're like, well, we got to do something with it. Otherwise,
it's also they play the percentages.
Yeah.
They know that they've got to green light X number of shows, and the one year will be better over the other.
Right.
That's just the way it is. 1984 was an absolutely brilliant year for new shows on TV. Like, just insanely stellar. But that wasn't planned. That was because the machinery was there to accept the best 100 scripts, shoot the best 25 shows, put the best 4 to 7 shows on. That was the magic.
Right. Now they're like, we have one show. It's Agatha Explains It All, and that's what it is. I don't even know that's the name. That's Carissa Explains It All, and that's Agatha
why,
all along. Whatever.
That's why these things aren't working.
Right. They're just
exactly because it's the process. They've ignored the process.
Right. They're telling you that this is going to be a good show. You're going to love this show.
We're making 3 shows this year, and they're all going to be good.
Yeah, they're all going to be good, and you're always going to be racist, sexist, and misogynistic.
That's right.
Yeah. So, all right, going from your background with all of this, right? So, how the hell did you end up on YouTube? What made you go, you know what? I think I'm going to start a YouTube channel.
So, okay, how do I do this quickly? So, when I left Hollywood, I had an interesting incident where I was interviewing for a Paramount VP position after I left CBC.
Okay.
I was in LA, and I was in the Polo. You want to hear this story?
Yeah, sure. I love to hear stories.
I was in the Polo. I've told this story before, but I was in the Polo Lounge with another expat Canadian, who was complaining about the fact that he'd made NBC $1 billion in reality shows, and now they won't return his phone calls. More people complain about stuff in LA than actually make things. So I'm close to the door, and we're talking, and then in comes Cher. So I turn around, she startles me to the point where I say hi to her. Like, it wasn't my intention, but it's just weird. She was close, and I went, "Hi, Cher," and then I could see in her eyes, I think I'm supposed to know this asshole, but I have no idea who he is. But so I could tell that she's running my face through her data banks,
the Rolodex in her head,
Rolodex in her head, and wondering, okay, what's his name? But instead, so she just put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Hi, good to see you."
I love when they do that.
Good to see you again. And I went, "Yeah." And then she walked off to her table. All the eyes in the Polo Lounge suddenly looking at me.
Yeah.
And during my little kvetch session with my expat Canadian, people were walking up with their cards going, "You know what? We should talk. Here's my card."
That's it.
Yeah. So what happened was I had taken some of Cher's aura. I'd stolen it.
Oh, nice.
I didn't do it on purpose. I mean, people do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah, there's leeches all over the place in Hollywood.
Yeah. And people wanted to know me just because I had borrowed some of her aura.
Right. Cher knows him, so we should know him as well.
So I was so, and Cher's huge. I mean, let's be honest about it. And that I started thinking of Robert Altman's The Player, and I went, you know what? I can't do this. I can't stomach this. And rather than staying the few days and finding out whether I got the job at Paramount or not, I just went back to my hotel at the Beverly Hills Hotel, phoned Air Canada and said, I want to take the 11:45 red eye back to Toronto. I'm changing my flight. And so I did. I got on the plane that night, came back to Toronto. And because I'm a nerd and a big Mac guy and a computer guy, I started a new media business with a chum the moment I landed. And
that fast. You went from rubbing elbows with Cher to, you know what? I don't know if I want this. I'm going back home and doing something else.
Yeah. Because I could program, I could do all sorts of new media stuff. I was doing all sorts of programming for the CBC. I was connecting HyperCard to Laserdiscs to do educational material for CBC. You know, I mean, I was doing also, I won't get into it. And then I was also heavily connected with Apple too at the time. And they started hiring me to go on tour to be a booth babe at new media shows.
Okay.
And I just got to be known in the new media space as a innovator and PostScript programmer and desktop publishing. And so I just got completely into that. And one of the biggest businesses was converting companies over from hard glass slideshows in Kodak carousel projectors to digital projectors using the Mac. Now we do it all the time, right? I mean, you throw this little LCD on the table, but at the time, you know, the Barco Millennium Falcons were $500,000 that took half a day to focus and warm up and things like that.
Yep.
But we were making a killing converting companies over from carousel slideshows to this new age of digital presentation. So that just our business took off. Then we did a game called Jewels of the Oracle in '94. It sold like
a game, board game, video game,
a video game called. It was like Myst.
Okay.
We did it was Jewels of the Oracle, just sold a huge amount. We were owed in just the first 6 months, $500,000 in royalties, and then the company didn't pay us.
Nice.
So then we became for a year and a half the company.
And that company now is Activision. No.
Yes. And we, you know, for year and a half, we were the company waiting to be paid company. And then one day I went into the pit, and I had 15 employees at the time, trying to keep that going. I said, I'm abandoning trying to get that money back. And they were shocked because they were mad. They were collectively mad. I went, I can't be mad anymore. I can't exist being mad. And so that was at 1998, and we moved over to the internet, and then started landing Daimler, McDonald's, JDS Uniphase, TD Bank, Chrysler, Mitsubishi.
Man, see, you took Cher's aura, but you moved it into a different business.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So that's just my nature. So we became a fairly large company doing programming for all these. Then I didn't like the managing a shit ton of clients. I didn't like managing a shit ton of employees. That was hard. The worst words that any boss can hear, you know what they are? The worst words?
No, what is it?
Paul, can I speak to you for a minute?
Oh, you're done.
Fuck. It's either one of a million. They're quitting.
Yeah.
They want more money, or their lesbian lover that also is employed at the company.
Yeah.
They're having a fight.
Right.
Like, so I changed the company. We got rid of almost all the employees, and we changed our company to a recurring revenue business called Your Web Department. Okay. And in the process of doing that, YouTube was getting big, and the Frantics refused to do a YouTube channel. They went, no, we don't want to do it. And I said, okay, fine. But I was trying to get our clients out of blogging because it was terrible.
Right.
It wasn't really working. The clients wouldn't write their own material. And, everyone said, oh, you got a blog. No, it didn't work. I mean, it was already the cow had left that barn. So I said, why don't you vlog? Like, if you're passionate about your business, why don't you put a regular video?
And they all looked at you like a dog. Like, what is this vlog that you talk about?
But the vlogging was working really well for companies, and I said, well, I got to figure this YouTube thing out for this vlogging thing. So I started a channel just to figure it out so I could talk to my clients.
So be better about it. Right. I got you.
That was it. That was the beginning of it. And so at the very beginning, because I'm an entertainment, not a funny guy, I looked at the stuff that was out there, and I liked the Casey Neistat style vlogging. He
Hmm.
was a hero of mine. And also Wheezy Waiter, people like that. It wasn't the Logan Pauls and dickwads like that. I hated the prank stuff. That was huge at the time.
Right.
And so, yeah, I copied Casey Neistat for a bit. I copied other people for a bit. And then I settled on the fact that I started making Hackintoshes, and then I recorded that, and that became huge. But my channel peaked at 22,000 subscribers and then started dropping as my interest waned. The
Right.
tech space started getting boring. And then I did the odd sketch. I did lots of sketches and stuff like that, which never went over. I experimented with a bunch of different things, which is what you should do as a YouTuber. If things
Yep.
aren't working, then try something else. I mean, you should stop, keep trying different things.
Problem
Because
with that is, though, YouTube is it takes so long once you change and to see if it works or not. You got to wait weeks.
not if it's the right idea. So that's my
True.
point. So what happened was, even though show business was my first love, I went into tech first because I thought YouTube was more tech. But then I started watching what other YouTubers were doing. I'm not going to mention their names, but they were complaining about shows and things like that. The reviews were, I didn't think were particularly sophisticated. And I went, crap, I was an executive. I don't care about your feelings. All I care about is whether a show succeeds or not. So I changed my channel to Call Me Chato, and my first videos were about former network executive. And I talked about the fact that, TV has a volume button, no quality button. And I only had one job as a network executive, was to keep my job. I didn't care about anything else. That was my job.
What was your channel called before it was called Call Me Chato?
It was called Peter Paul Chato.
Okay.
So I changed it to Call Me Chato.
When I found you was when you were talking about, I'm a TV executive. That's what the big thing. You're like, yeah.
And that hit like a lightning bolt. People loved the idea that I don't care whether you like the show or not. It succeeded.
Right.
And I got to keep my job. So you guys are like complaining about the quality of it and I didn't care. Like, that's not true.
No,
but I exaggerated the fact that if a show is quality, then that's a bonus, was never really the intent.
Right.
And so that twigged onto people. I did I had a rant about the fact that the new Hollywood woke, and especially in the gaming, and in comics, the fact that the nerds and the geeks created everything you're trying to now fuck up the ass.
Right, destroy.
We created the technology, we created the original characters, we created the original business, we supported the business with our billions of dollars and built it. And now you're coming in here,
right,
and you're going to change it. And you've also decided that we are not the right audience for this.
Yeah.
So I did this massive rant around that, which is around also the business. That just exploded. And so I've been talking about that and show business, and from a former network executive perspective, and that it struck a nerve. And that's really what you want to do. You want to keep experimenting with ideas that strike a nerve, and a one that does strike a nerve, you'll know really quickly.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my long explanation.
Yeah, I've always, what's funny to me is I've been on this platform for 10 years, and I've never been, in the eyes of YouTube, successful, right? But I don't care. Like, I do a show on Thursday nights with my brother called Generation X Gaming, right? We started it because we made a board game. Okay, I made a board game.
Nice.
And it's called Weekend in Vegas, because we used to love Vegas, right? And I was like, well, how are we going to promote it, right? I was like, well, why don't we do a podcast, and I'll just talk about it there. And then that evolved into, the board game didn't work, right? We didn't raise enough money to fund it or whatnot. And then we just started doing the podcast because I don't live near my brother. So we used Thursday nights as a banter back and forth. We both love video games, and that's what it was. And then I was like, well, how do I get more people to watch my podcast? So then I was like, oh, I'll start streaming video games. So then I started streaming on Twitch and doing all that stuff. And I just did all of these things. So I always find it funny because I did a podcast 10, 12 years ago, and now podcasts are ginormous, right? They're just everyone's doing them and whatnot. Now I'm just one of the people in the ocean of podcasts instead of doing it and no one knows I was there anyway, right? And then I do news where I comment on news. I've been doing that for years and years and years and years, and no one really did that, but now everyone does that, right? I did reviews of movies and TV shows, but I did it in a way of longer format because longer format wasn't at the time on YouTube. But I would sit there for like an hour talking about what I liked or didn't like about Mandalorian season 1 and whatnot. And now everyone's doing that.
Right.
So I always feel like I'm always ahead of the curve, and I'm
But
never on the
if you're
goddamn
not doing
curve.
it consistently, then you're behind the curve.
Correct. I stop doing it, and then everybody else does it, and then
Right.
when I do it, it's like it's just not going to work, right?
Well, look at I can't remember Penguin X. Penguin, what's his name? He's huge, just enormous, and he's
That's another thing I love about YouTube. I have no idea who you're talking about. YouTube is so big that you can name someone, and I'll be like, I don't even know who that is.
So, I mean, again, one of the aspects of show business that people don't realize is that, generally speaking, people only want to be around successful people. When I was at the ACE Awards, which was the cable awards, when the Emmys would not include HBO or any Showtime, right? So they created their own awards. So I was down there, and I ran into Michael Palin and Pamela Stevenson.
Chat says Voice Critical and Penguin Zero, if that's the people that you're
Penguin Zero, yes. Yeah. Thank you. So, yeah, Penguin Zero is huge. Like, just
I'd never heard of him.
Gigantic. He's a cool guy. So Michael Palin of Monty Python, and what's interesting, Pamela Stevenson. So Michael Palin, I think, was there because they were nominated for a cable show Around the World in 80 Days, but the Hollywood, whatever quality Hollywood individuals were there in the tent at the time, they had no idea who Michael Palin was, didn't know who Monty Python was. And Pamela Stevenson, which is an interesting story, because she was, I think, nominated for Not the 9 O'Clock News, which Rowan Atkinson was also involved in. And so in the UK, because Pamela Stevenson was on a monster hit show, but also started dating some insanely wealthy royal, which, you know, the UK is really all about gossip magazines and things like that. I'm not putting too fine a point on this. She was the biggest celebrity in the UK for a period of time, for a couple of years, like monstrous, because of these two things. Being on the #1 comedy show in the UK and also dating this rich dude. And she was gorgeous. No one would talk to her. Like, no one came up.
Because they were intimidated by her.
No, they didn't know who the fuck she was.
Okay.
This is Hollywood. This is their little bubble. They didn't know who Michael Palin was. Didn't care. Didn't care about the show. Didn't care about Pamela Stevenson. Now, me as a Canadian and someone who watched Not the 9 O'Clock News and also knew what was going on in the UK, because that was kind of my zeitgeist, I knew how huge she was.
Right. But
and I went up to talk to her and Michael Palin. And Michael Palin, so I talked to him, told him, you know, what an influence Monty Python was with my comedy group, The Frantics. And he said his first thing was, well, I expect royalty payments. And my alarm went off that said, okay, I've pretty much ended my time with Michael. I'm not going to bug him anymore. But he insisted on talking. He just wanted to talk. And we just talked for another good 20 minutes. And it was great. He was really sweet, wonderful, wonderful guy. And the other part to that story was I went back to my table and I didn't know anybody. So I didn't feel like nobody wanted to talk to me. Next to my table was this guy. What was his name? Muhammad Ali.
You know what? Stop right there for a second. I love how you just did that. I love how you just like, what's that guy's name? Oh yeah, Muhammad Ali. Like, we don't know who the hell he is.
And no one was talking to him. So he was at the trough of his career, just before the final I don't know when it took off, and then for the remainder of his life, he became the god that he deserved to be. Like I can't remember what it was, but I think he was promoting the jungle, the fight with George Foreman. That's what the show was. He had three bodyguards, huge black guys, and I went. The guy's left alone. He was with a woman. She split, and I said, "I'm going to go say hi to Muhammad Ali," because I felt badly for him. He's alone, like no one is talking to him. And it's really funny about this trough business. People go, "Oh, Muhammad Ali, he was famous like all through like this big linear line," and no, he was of no value to anybody at that moment in his career. So nobody came over to talk to him. He had no value to offer.
I say this all the time. Hollywood is, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, it is. But unless you're a mega star, then they want
Sure.
to suck your aura,
right,
amongst other things. And so I stood up to go over to him, and like two of the bodyguards, like 8'8", like like stop me. And Mohammed said, no, hey, let him through. So let me through. I sat down, and he's the shaky guy. We just had this wonderful 10-minute chat about stuff. And I said, like, I came over, I saw you were, you were alone. I mean, I know you can't talk to these guys because they, they don't know English. And and he laughed, and I said, I just wanted to chat to you because I felt badly that, everyone is leaving you alone. You're supposed to be famous. And he talked about, fame didn't mean anything to him, and it wasn't important.
Did he talk to you about lures?
But what?
About lures, like you did for Robin Williams.
Yeah, lures.
Lures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he was funny, really, really funny. And then I said, thank you very much. And I, went back to my table, and that was it. So you learn a lot when you see those kinds of things. So where was I heading with this? Yeah. So yeah, I started the YouTube channel, and because I'm a creative individual and I knew how to market other people's stuff, I just applied those things to me. And I just kept trying new things as opposed to, and then killing it if it didn't work. And the other thing too is you had to apply the rule of branding it properly, dress the role, and you had to be consistent. And if you could get it out every Monday at 3 p.m. or whatever, that's what you did, and that's how stuff works.
How many hours a week do you work and put towards your channel for YouTube?
Less and less now. I mean, I don't need the money. I never really did, but it's fun. So I do a Call Me Chato once a week, or whenever duty is called. So suddenly, if there's a show that I want to review and it's on a Wednesday, I'm going to then watch it and review it. Okay, so I'm ending up with 2 shows that week. And then I have another channel called Appalling News, APAULING News, where I really go hard after the DEI twats.
Yeah, I gotcha. So how long does it take you to write a script when you're doing it? Pretty fast, or
pretty good. Sometimes I'll struggle, but I try. I'll spend maybe a couple of hours writing a script. I'll record it in 15 minutes, and I'll edit it in another hour. Maybe
See,
less.
I try not to edit at all. I'll be honest with you. I do. Well, I used to do uploads, and now I do live.
Yeah,
that's it.
And I have found that overproducing a bit did not add any more audience to it.
Yeah,
it was all about the idea. People like the idea. Although my latest Call Me Chato, where I have an Australian translator device, which is hilarious. So I speak in Strine, and every time I bring up an Australian word, the translator shows it in regular English.
I like I like the sketches you do with the call-ins, like where you're calling in.
I love those.
Yeah, those are my
favorite. Hi. What do you? Yeah, that's right.
That's one of the when I was starting in acting. That's one of the things we had to do. We had to pretend we were on a phone call with people, and when
like
you do
a Bob Newhart thing,
yeah. When you do it, it looks so natural. It looks like you're selling it. You're selling it really good because it just looks good.
I love doing it, but I mean, Shelley Berman did it. Bob Newhart did it. I watched Bob Newhart live. twice. So to me, I think I know the cadence and the kind of weird thing you got to put in there.
Right. Timing.
I don't know. It
It's
just
the
comes
timing.
naturally.
Yeah. What's some of your, I don't know, like in YouTube, what's your favorite part of making content on YouTube?
I just love doing it. To me, this is a good and a bad thing, is that it's too easy to write, produce, and distribute. So gives me less motivation to finish screenplays and things like that, because I know that's the writing part I love, but then the selling it part is brutal. And then, getting someone on board who says, okay, I'll give you $10,000. And then I have the rights to it for the next 5 years to sell it. And if I fail, then it comes back to you. I mean, the business of it. And then you got to wait. And then they sells it. And then the studio goes ahead, green lights it. And then they change the executives, and the new executives who come in, blow up everything that's on the, they put everything into turnaround that their rival had. And so on one hand, YouTube is bad because I get to do something that's in my brain, but I love it. To me, it's, as a comedian, I opened up my review of, Am I Racist? I came up with this idea where I couldn't go into the theater without being accompanied without a black person. So I looked in the parking lot to try to find a black person to accompany. I mean, that was an outrageously dangerous.
I'm surprised you're not canceled. Yeah.
But I mean, to me, to be comfortable with it, and I try to be meta with the medium, in that I make fun of YouTube as a medium also. So I'm not caught up in it. I love the fact that people like Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker and people like that, who I really think are fabulous, have invited me on their shows to participate in their,
I love watching them, and obviously
Midnight's Edge.
They're so hated now by so many people because of their opinions, and I find that hilarious, right? They're just people with their opinions that people like watching or entertained. And I think people that are viewers forget that. Like the people that are like, we watch television shows in the past because it was entertaining, right? Like I had a guest on 2 weeks ago, Greg Owen. He does reviews and stuff like that as well. Great. He does great job writing and whatnot. And that's not his full-time job, right? That's just part-time stuff that he does, but he does good stuff. And I didn't watch one frame of The Acolyte, but I watched his 2 hour and 20-minute breakdown of why The Acolyte sucked.
Yes.
Right.
And Little Platoon does like 4-hour breakdowns on a half-hour
like
show.
Mahler does like 9-hour long content. You know what I mean? Like it's
amazing.
YouTube. Yeah. I love, like, if you could watch someone blowing glass and then talking shit about something and then reviewing, it's amazing. I love YouTube.
You know what my present addiction is?
What's
Police body cam videos.
Oh, mine for a small second, it was watching people build small, tiny homes.
I love that too. We watch tiny homes
why.
on TV. I love it.
But
the body
I'm not
cam
even in the mood to build
videos
something, but I watch these people build something.
Anyways, yeah. So to me, I think I found a rhythm. I found the thing that I like doing. Stuff pops up while I'm reading news and watching other people's stuff. They might say one thing that inspires me to come up with something. I came up with a sketch where a kid, I'm going to try to do this. Kid goes into the school store and he's studying neurology. And I'll research it and find out what the neurology textbooks are. And they go, well, you're going to need Neurology 101, and you're going to need Dr. Fisker's neurology and
Right.
and you're going to need this keffia, and you're also going to need this Palestinian flag. So, to me, I can't stop coming up with stuff.
That's why I like watching. That's why I like watching your stuff, because
thank you. You're very sweet.
It's so different than what other people are doing. And I know it doesn't have to be for everybody, right? You don't have to be the Critical Drinker where people are watching a million views of your video, but that's what I love. That. And I appreciate what I met Gary. I met them at a meetup and stuff over in,
Really, Gary's a really great guy.
super great guy. And from what he's so honest and open about where he
Yeah.
came from and what he's
Yep.
doing now. And people try to hold that against him. I'm like, you're an idiot, because he knows where he came from and what he's doing. And same with the rest of them, Jeremy from Geeks and
Yep.
Gamers, and Ryan and Drunk 3PO. I've met all of them. I've talked to them with a little bit, sort of like your stories with like Muhammad Ali for like 10 minutes, right? I went to a meetup and talked to them a bit. They're super nice guys. They're super nice things. And their channels, they're all different in every way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And look, no matter what you do, people are going to like or dislike you for just the way you look, for just the way what you say. If you disagree with them in any way, shape, or form, and I don't take any of this seriously. I look at this like, look, I haven't read anything from chat except for one thing, right? But I'm gonna read a super chat in a second. But I just like to do this. I love doing live shows and talking to other people and just having conversations. Especially, I wanted to get you on because I love that you were a TV executive and could talk about that part of the aspect, because I talk about stuff and people kind of don't believe me on certain things. They think I'm like full of shit because I don't really tell them my full name and stuff, so they can't look me up on IMDb and tell me and show me what. But I've worked on tons and tons of stuff, things that hundreds of things. But as you break it down, like out of 100 things, 20 of them are on IMDb because some of them got scrapped or didn't make. Like I worked on a movie back in 2011. It still hasn't even hit. Still, it's not even made yet. Still, like they've been working on it for like years and years, getting funding and stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah. So I didn't want to be a part of that. This is one of the things I like about YouTube, and the fact that I'm a camera geek. I know how to operate a camera. Actually, this was my first one. So
I have let me show you this one. I have an old. This is a Pentex.
Nice.
This is an old from
Yep.
Like
hold on. Wait a
70.
If we're going to.
Oh, I have an 8mm. I don't know where it is right now. I have an 8mm.
1960 Canon 8mm.
I have an 8mm, but I used to shoot the 8mm on it, but I would get 16mm, and you would put it in, and you could film on half of the film, and then flip it and put it on the other side. Yeah, a little wind up. It would last for like a minute, maybe a minute, right? I love cameras, and that's why I love in the camera department. I love doing focus pulling. To me, was so like, I know people meditate. Like I just loved focus.
That's a hard job.
It's very stressful. Very stressful
job.
No one ever tells you you're doing a good job, right? No one ever says, "Hey, good job with that," because when you're doing your job correctly, no one says shit. No
one notices.
Right. If someone notices, then you better get your shit straight, because there's millions of dollars.
Isn't it the DOP who actually measures it out? You don't have to measure it out. You just pull it.
Yeah. Well, for the focus pulling, we would do I would get the measurements. Right now, it's all digital and shit, and now people just do this shit, and then they're done automatic. Mine was, take the point in the front, like if they're 15 feet away, take the furthest point, take the closest point of 2 feet away, and after doing a zoom, coming in as they're walking, the hardest shots are like the walking down the hallway shots and stuff like that, because you got to, a foot might be this much on the wheel. You know what I mean?
And it's logarithmic in that it changes as you get closer.
And when I started, there was no viewfinder to look at.
Oh,
it was just when I start. No, well, there was, but sometimes they can't afford the fucking thing to put on the camera, so you have to eyeball it. Right now,
I did focus pulling too, and I just went. There's the measurement. This is where they start. This is the X number of feet, and then or meters, and then this is where they end. And I just
the markers
as they're walking, they're walking, you just turn and you hope that they're in focus all the way.
Now the technology is so advanced that
you just touch.
I could put a 3D like a virtual headset on and see like the whole thing and sit here just be like.
I don't know. Are they using autofocus does ARRI have autofocus?
I'm not sure what they use now. I've been out of the business for 6 years for that part, so I couldn't answer that truthfully. There was, I know before I left, they started using where you'll have there's these two sensors that they'll put on top on a gobo arm,
right?
And then it would just measure it for you.
Yeah, LiDAR. the
Yeah,
LiDAR
and then
sensor.
there would be a gear that is like linked up to that, and it
Mhm.
would know what it is. So you would just set it like so you would have your little controller, and you would just put in like point one, like position one would be this, and then position
Yeah.
two would be, and then it would just
Yep.
do it. Yeah,
Yep.
it's crazy now. And then when I was coming up in the industry, you couldn't just film everything. You had to, shoot what you were shooting,
Yeah.
and now they just let it run. Just let
No,
it
no,
run.
and
They,
I think
they film everything.
that's actually a problem too.
Of course.
When I was directing, I would do a lot of one takes that freaked everybody out. Like, is everything running? Everything good? Everyone happy? Okay, next. You don't want to do a safety? Nope.
Yep. No. Yeah. I worked on a movie called when I worked on it was called Get Some, but then when it came out in theaters, it was called Never Back Down. It was like a MMA fighting Karate Kid type of movie.
Okay.
It did pretty good, but that was the one where I was a PA for Amber Heard Turd. The director didn't know what he was doing. He came from like television background, and
Okay.
so he constantly was just rolling multiple cameras, B unit, C unit, multiple angles, just constantly throwing. They went over budget so bad. I think they must have gone through an extra 100 reels. Like it was
It's
ridiculous.
really a problem when a director is not confident enough to know what most of the takes need to be. And overburdening the editor too with like all this footage.
But you have to have an idea. You got to shoot for the edit. You know what I mean? You can't just
Oh, yeah.
willy nilly just
Well,
burn through it.
well, you know the story of the director of The Big Clock with Ray Milland and the British Leighton. Leighton. So
got
The
nothing
Big
for you.
Clock was remade as No Time Out. The Kevin Costner movie. Not No Time Out. What was it called? Anyways, so the director was a European director, and the studio argued with him, saying, he said, I have final cut because I'm a European director, because that's what we do in Europe. And the studio said, no, this is the United States, this is Hollywood.
Right.
The studio gets the final cut. So so first of all, his opening shot was probably a 7-minute in-out crane shot that was just fantastic. Just everyone knows about that. That's a historic shot. And then everything else he shot had no coverage. He was so good with the script that literally all they gave the studio was takes,
Right.
but it was just a puzzle. Like all they
pieced together. Yeah.
pieced together.
He had it all up in his head. Right. Yep. I'm trying to teach my son's 10 years old. He's like, he wants to film a movie this weekend. He's like, I want to film something. I was like, okay. I was like, you got to get a storyboard. I was like, you got to make something. I don't care if it's stick figures, something. I was like, you got to put something on paper so you know what you're doing. He's like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, I've been doing this for too long for you to sit there and
yeah, listen to dad.
Yeah, please. I was like, he wants me to help him. Like, if I'm going to help you, you got to have a storyboard. Like, tell me what your short story is.
And there's also the notion of the tension in the frame, which all the cutting takes out. If you watch a Woody or Woody Allen movie, he'll have a shot of two people walking like forever up the street, having the conversation, starting off where the conversation is really clear all the time. So it's not like it's in the distance and it's coming up. No, the conversation's super clear, and they're just walking up. Tony Roberts and Woody Allen are now just walking towards the camera for what it feels like 10 minutes. And it's funny because he knew how to use the camera to add to the tension and the
Hitchcock
situation.
Was great at that. Yeah, Hitchcock was great at that. Woody Allen's good at that. Yeah.
And to me, with all the super fast cutting and the terrible choreographed fights, but now I'm complaining. So that's how the YouTube thing.
You're allowed to complain. I complain all the time, so it's okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to complain. So that's how the YouTube thing, blew up, and now I'm a regular on Midnight's Edge, and I'm just having fun. I mean, I'm writing this stuff. Again, you need to do it enough to become comfortable at it. It's like the 10,000 hour rule, whatever you want to.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have a goal? Like you hit 125,000 subscribers? Do you? I mean, obviously, I don't know if you had a goal to hit
No, I
100,000
have.
subscribers.
Honestly, I wanted to hit 100,000 and not care at all ever again.
So are you at that point? You just don't care?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I went, okay, as part of this experiment, and now it's looked like it's working. So I'm not just bashing my head against the wall. I'm going to do enough videos and really crank it out and really push it so I can get 100,000 and then get the
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 plaque.
reward there.
Yep.
That's all I want. That's all I
Is it the
wanted.
big? Is it the big plaque or the small plaque that?
No, I
Drunk
got the
3PO
last of the big plaques.
Yeah, he got the small one just recently.
You did.
No, Drunk 3PO.
Oh, Drunk
He just
3PO.
got his, and he showed it on stream
Oh,
or on. It's a tiny one. Yeah.
see, tiny for tiny men.
By the time I get one, I don't know if I'll ever get one. It'll be like a credit card size. Yeah, so.
So that was it. I wanted that plaque. That was it. I don't care. And then I started a polling news just to see what would happen if I had something really branded, like nailed, hard branded, like really, very consistent
Right.
idea. And it took off, has taken off really well. So
I've never watched your other channel. I didn't even know.
yeah, you should try it.
Didn't even know you had that one.
Well, no, not a lot of people do, but polling news. I'm really enjoying it. Going after the wokies like hard.
What advice would you give someone that's trying to think about making a YouTube channel? What would you give them as advice?
Oh, the thing is, obviously, if what you're doing is not 100% unique, which it's probably not going to be,
right, it's not going to be.
How can I say this? There's any number of ways that something's going to succeed. You could be a thought. The women who purposely ply their feminine wiles to capture boys. But if even if you are, you want to figure out who you are online, what's your personality, and then really work on that. And how do you become friends with the person on the other side of the screen? How do you become comfortable? Because that's what they're doing, is that they're bringing a friend into your room. And then it's a question of what value are you offering them? What are you doing that is going to entertain them? But it's the premise that's more important than anything else. The premise and concept that will capture the imagination of the person. Now, again, like in show business, you could be a stunning human being, and those fuckers are out there, and then they just like grab audience members for no other reason than they are some of the beautiful people.
Well, it's funny you say that because I just watched a video. I forget who I saw it with, but they were talking about. I think it was Asmongold. He was reacting to a video of a girl who's a marketing major or works in the marketing industry, and she's talking about a TikToker or a TikToker who in 2019 she became this like huge success all because of dancing, all because of whatever. And I'd never heard of her. Just like you said, Penguin. Like she had 152 million subscribers, right?
Wow.
And I was just like, who? I was like, right. So obviously no one knows who the hell I am if I don't know who she is at 152 million, right? And how bad they screwed up. Like she's worth like $32 million. They had all these brand deals. They made a reality show of her. And I'm just like, but it fails because she's only known for, the dancing, right? She's not known for like why she's like talking or anyone that if she has anything interesting quality.
Well, then
she's gorgeous. But she's gorgeous.
Yeah. So the thing is, figure out what it is that's like, going to be of interest to, the viewers. Ugly guys like you and me, we got to work harder.
That's right.
And come up with stuff. There's this horrific channel called Sniper Wolf with 3 S's, where she was doing a gaming channel. Then she started ripping off goofy TikTok videos. And because YouTube does not care about other people's videos that are not on its channel, they didn't care that she was ripping off TikTok videos and just reacting to them.
Right.
She would react to 3 TikTok videos per video. She does one a day. I don't know. She must have 100 million subscribers.
Jesus.
She's doing like, I don't know, $30 million a year. And she's stupid. She's gorgeous. She's cute, but all she's doing is
dumb as
making
toast.
grunt sounds. Oh, that's funny. Oh, look what they're doing. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I'd never do that. And 100,000 views. Like,
Yeah, I stand in front of this microphone for 2.5, 3 hours a day, just nonstop talking with my chat.
Obviously, it's not of value to enough people.
Apparently not. Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you change your background? Do you put some neon lights back there? What is it that you want to talk about? How do you present yourself? I mean, if you see, appalling news, that one, I'm in a suit jacket, a suit and tie. Like, I know my stuff. Call Me Chato is just fun, me doing shit.
Right. So it's completely different, out of the norm. This is a different character that you're playing over on this.
Completely different character, different voice, everything. But I wanted to experiment to see, and I got it monetized in 2 weeks.
Wow. Well, look at that. And when did you start that?
When did
you start that one? Yeah. How long ago did you start that one?
50 videos ago.
Okay.
Something like that.
So this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just said, okay, I'm going to apply everything that I know. And then I'm going to because of the subject matter, it's clear YouTube is throttling me. They have really no interest.
They don't do that. Come on, Paul.
They have no interest in me talking about men dressing up in women's clothing and beating up girls. And
well, no, it's YouTube. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. So,
YouTube
but I don't care.
Is just Hollywood, but on a smaller screen.
So you can see the problem, because my the percentage that shows the number of people that open the video on those is really high, like 15, 16, often 20%. But my views are down. Like, how do you reconcile the fact that I have an insanely good percentage of people who have
they're all leaving really quickly? Yeah.
So, but it doesn't bother me too much. I enjoy doing that. So yeah, I'm able to exercise my sketch. There's times I wish I had my own TV show so I could get bigger sketches happening, but I'll take it easy.
My chat says maybe a suit and tie could help me. I don't think so, Travis. I don't think I'm.
So you just, those are the rules: is find the thing that works. Don't keep at stuff that isn't working. Make it consistent, like at least once a week. There are people who are doing 6 videos every day. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, most of the things that I like watching are good edits, like people that edit really well, and the people that are editing really well, they have their own editors, right? So they have someone just personally just doing all of their stuff. So they just make the content, and then someone else puts it together for them. That's fantastic. Real quick, I want to read a super chat. The one super chat that we got. We got Rachel. He says, "When I was a kid," I'm going to butcher this because that's English that I can't speak. Galaxy Presidentes. You want to take that one?
Galaxy près de chez vous.
There you go. Because
chez vous. You merge that together. Galaxy près de chez vous.
Do you know what that is? Because I don't know what that is.
No. Right. So vous is you. So you'll have to put it into Google Translate, or force them to pay another amount of money just to tell us what it is.
Yeah. Go ahead and put another super chat in there to let us know what that means in the translation, because we don't have time. We don't have time to put it in Google chat. What's your favorite classic TV show?
What do you mean by classic? Like
your all-time favorite. What's your favorite classic TV show? Like, whatever classic is. Obviously, it's not Agatha, right? That's not classic.
No.
Like, Three's Company. I mean, like stuff back then. What was your favorite show back then?
Well, that's unfair. There's so many influential shows. I know the Adam West Batman was magic for me as a young kid, and seeing it in color.
Talk about that with the Batmobile and stuff like that.
Yeah. That to me was a seminal moment. I always thought the Beverly Hillbillies was unbelievably funny as a kid, and it's turned out to be more sophisticated than I had imagined at the time. Probably the show that really hit me the hardest for the longest time was The Prisoner.
Okay.
The Prisoner, but that was later on. I would watch Danger Man, and then The Prisoner came on. I went, "What the hell is this about?" But I mean, over time, The Prisoner has become a very important show for me.
Like a show
Sitcoms.
like Get Smart. I used to love that show.
Get Smart, love Get Smart.
Yeah.
Stingray was huge for me as a kid because I saw that young. It was like the Marion animation, the Anderson
Oh yeah, the you
puppets.
talk about the puppets. Yeah.
Yeah, puppets, but Super Stingray was just really, really big for me as a kid. Of course, the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes cartoons were
Do they
just
still show
staggering.
those? Like, do kids know
They
what
they
Looney
do it
Tunes is?
somewhere, but they've been edited to within an inch of its life. I have
Does
all of
does
them.
does Yosemite Sam use a gun? Does Elmer Fudd use a gun? Do they use guns anymore in that? 'Cause everyone was shooting everyone
I know
when I was
everyone's shooting everybody. Yeah.
like Daffy Duck would get blown and his face would always be turned. You know
No,
what I
they
mean?
took that out. They took that out.
Oh
Rabbits
my
and
god.
drag. Then there are
They
things
kept that
like
in though, right? They kept the rabbits and drag.
we kept the rabbits and drag. Kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit. So stuff like that. Um, the uh, Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh yeah.
Just bizarre stuff like that. I wasn't that big into Gilligan's Island. I thought it was stupid even when I was a kid. But I
Three Hour
love Time
Tour.
Tunnel. Oh, Star Trek, TOS.
Are you more of a Star Trek fan or are you more of a Star Wars fan?
Star Trek.
Yeah. What's your
I mean,
favorite
I loved
era?
Star Wars, but for different reason. I loved Star Wars because it was right at the moment where I was into tech, and the Star Wars was about the complete package where you learned about the camera rigging and the models and how they blew the things up and how they did the multiplane stuff. So to me, Star Wars satisfied my technology side as well as the movie side. That was really important. And every single Star Wars movie, you learned about what Lucas did next. That
Right.
for me was as important as the movie itself. But Star Trek, of course, I was younger, 1966, 67. I saw it when it first, to me, I was Godsmack. The other show that was huge for me, and because I watched it with my mom also, was Laugh-In. I'd come to think of it.
Oh.
The first Laugh-In show, when you're used to all the standard comedy shows like the Ed Sullivan Show, being, the Danny Kaye Show and things like that. Laugh-In, if you watch it Laugh-In now, it's really slow. But at the time, it was like you were on acid. It just, suck it to me,
Right.
and then you had Goldie Hawn in the bikini with the painting, and then she would say one line, and it was like gag, 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 gag. Says, yes, the Nazi coming up from behind the.
Oh, you definitely can't do that now.
No. So
do you think we'll ever get back to a time where, I mean, history repeats itself, right? Do we ever get back to the time where television goes back to the way it was, where they make sketch comedy? Do you think they make the movies again like they were, or are we in that spot that we're never ever going to get back there? It's just going to evolve to whatever, something different. I know it's
streaming has really killed everything. The studios looked at the recurring revenue of Netflix and got greedy. And they went, wow, we don't even have to make anything, and we could be making $1 billion a week or whatever, right? Because recurring revenue. Oh, the old model of actually having to make something, spend money, put in the theater, and waiting to see whether it succeeded or not, compared to recurring revenue.
Right.
Wow. They're not even putting anything new out for the next month, and they're making bags
the
of
same
cash.
amount of money. Right. They're making the same amount of money they did last time.
That was just too much for them. and they forgot that there's, this whole business of trying to make stuff. Studios, when we had 4 or 5 studios, they would each make about 26 movies a year. And, they would hope that 4 of them would succeed well
Right.
enough to pay back. And they would also hope that the one ringer that they did for no money would suddenly, be a blockbuster success out of nowhere. And then the rest
Right.
lost money. And again, it's about playing the numbers. And if you don't start upping the number of items the number of stuff that you're doing, as I said before,
Mm.
it's not going to work, because you can't laser focus success. It's just not the way things work. And Hollywood was very happy hitting singles and doubles and then getting the odd triple and home run. Now there's no economy for hitting singles and doubles.
Right.
They just want to keep hitting the home run every single time.
Have you seen the news report that talks about how movie theaters are going to start putting like pickleball and bowling alleys and other
No,
things
but
in the theater?
yep.
Like what are they doing? Like this is not why people go to the theater. They're like, hey,
No.
you know what? Let's go play pickleball instead of going to the. Oh, and while we're
But
there, let's go watch a movie as well.
If I was, one of the things that needs to be done that would save Hollywood is if the TV networks were resurrected and they stopped playing Chicago Hospital, Chicago Cop, Chicago Ambulance, Chicago,
Oh yeah,
whatever.
you're talking about all the dramas they have. The police
Yeah,
show.
and,
The fire
and like,
show,
how
yeah,
many NCIs do we need?
yeah.
How many
My
CSIs do we
dad
need?
loves those. My dad loves
I
those
know, but
shows.
we there's like nothing else on.
Oh, I
And
know.
plus, then there's reality shows. So if I was the head of CBS or NBC or ABC, I would go to the well and try to find a way to resurrect the zeitgeist of shows like The A-Team, Baywatch,
Mhm.
Knight
Oh,
Rider.
they
Not
tried
copy
Baywatch.
those.
They tried it.
No, but you don't copy Baywatch.
Oh, I see what you're
Not
saying. I got you.
you like The Flying Nun. You can't do that because it's a stupid show. But there's just something about attempting Bewitched. There's something about
Right.
All in the Family and all those shows. There are enough smart people out there that can give you another Manimal. I mean, there's, when you got the Irwin Allens doing Time Tunnel, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, all those conceptually were show like, holy shit, I want to see them just based on the ideas of the show.
Right. Like no one's making the shows like Alf anymore or
No,
Small Wonder or Different
Wonder
Strokes or
Years.
yeah. No one's
Although there's a
trying to.
Canadian show called Son of a Critch, which is kind of a Canadian Wonder Years that is fantastic.
Where can you watch it?
Really,
Not in
really.
Canada. Where can you watch it?
I CBC Gem, the Gem app or something. Look for Son of a Critch. I think Son of a Critch might also be on CW.
Okay. That's
But
another
it
thing.
is
That whole network never makes money, and they've been around for 20. They've been 25 years.
So I would go back and find the next Aaron Spelling. I mean, the guy who did Yellowstone is probably the closest that we've got right now.
Right.
Taylor Sheridan. And I want like another Love Boat, like just the dumbest shit that is just
so good.
Joyous.
It was bad, but it was so good. Like different celebrities came on the boat and did different things. That Fantasy Island, right?
Yeah.
Like all that stuff. Yep.
Terrible show, but we need stuff like that because those are the shows that are making money for Pluto and Tubi.
But can you argue that maybe the Rings of Power and the Agathas are those shows that are just bad and they're trying to force them?
But they would be, if they were put under the crucible of a network series, they would be canceled in 3 or 4. That doesn't mean you don't put them on. That doesn't mean you don't put Rings of Power on. I'm not against putting Rings of Power on. I mean, if you take a look at it face value, oh, Tolkien. Oh, it's Lord of the Rings. I'm a network executive. I never saw the movies that Mr. Jackson did, but you know what? They made a lot of money. So yeah, fucking put them on. Yeah, right. Holy smokes, this is shit. Gone. Like we shoot 10, kill them after 3. Next. So that's what network TV was good at. So that's what we need back.
Krebsy Gaming in chat said earlier that Acolyte was now told to be $230 million.
I heard that on the Midnight's Edge. Yeah,
Where-
not 180.
As a person that worked behind the scenes, I don't know where the fuck they spent that money.
No.
I have no idea where they spent that money, especially since most of that is filmed on the volume, which is supposed to bring down the cost, by the way, of production, because you're not traveling and putting people up.
A lot of middlemen,
like
found
someone's
their-
lining their pockets with that $230 million. You know what I mean? Like 180, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, that's a lot. But now it's 230. It's insane.
It was a terrible show.
I'll take your word for it. Like, okay. Did you see the Thunderbolts trailer that came out?
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
It's a good answer. Okay. But you didn't like it or love it. You just kind of
Yeah. And as I said on Midnight's Edge, probably the biggest problem with it is that it is not surrounded by a bunch of hit products.
Nothing
So
leading into it. Yeah.
To me, it looks better than the Marvel movie, like not Madam Marvel. What was it called?
Madam Web.
No, not Madam Web. The Marvel movie with
the Marvels.
No, not the Marvels. The first one, with the blonde chick, with Brie Larson.
Oh, Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, thank you. So yeah. Captain Marvel made $1 billion.
There's a lot of shit to go through, Paul. There's a lot of shit ahead.
Captain Marvel made $1 billion, not because it was a good film, it was a terrible film, but although there were good elements in it, there was things that worked in it, but it just didn't work in total. And I didn't believe her good old black chum. I didn't believe their relationship for 1 second. And the actress who played her friend was horrendous. Dull as shit. And if they could just hire a black actress that was willing to smile, I mean, that would have been Halle Berry. I don't care.
Right. Anybody, just
anyone. Someone smile, please. I have nothing against black actresses. Just get good ones, please.
Well, and just like the Acolyte, she didn't. Her facial expressions were the exact same, no matter what.
I said she had fewer facial expressions than a Wanted poster.
Oh man, yeah,
that was a good line. That was one of my favorite. See that I luxuriate when I'm writing and I come up with things like that. I go, oh, orgasm, writing orgasm.
Yeah. I'm not
so anyway,
excited.
my point was Captain Marvel was sandwiched in between a bunch of movies that we wanted to see, and it succeeded. I would say that if Marvel was even on a reasonable good roll right now and was making stuff that was consistently okay, then I think the Thunderbolts would probably do okay. It seems to be a way more interesting movie than Captain Marvel. That's all.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Captain Marvel, when it came out in theaters, though, it was weird. We went opening night, and I shit you not, there was 20 people in the theater, but the theater said it was sold out. So there was a lot of people that either got the sick that night or something. Yeah. Tickets were bought, but people didn't show up.
Right.
So all the whole rest of their stuff that's coming out, I'm just not excited for any of the Marvel. The Captain Falcon that's coming out. I don't even know what's coming out after that. Then let me ask you real quick about Robert Downey Jr. making the appearance at Comic-Con when they made that announcement as Dr. Doom. You think it's good, bad?
It's showbiz. I don't care.
Hail Mary.
Yeah, it's a showbiz thing. I mean, to me, what's funny is back in my time, we were hooers. That what we would have been doing is after Endgame, we'd recast Iron Man, put him into new adventures. Even he had died, it didn't matter, because in the comic books, a character would die at the end of the comic and then come back in the next one, because it'd be a different. Like, who cared? Like, it didn't really matter.
Don't be bigger than the character itself.
Yeah, and they're not treating the Marvel universe in the same way the comic books treat it. In that, okay, you've got the Neil Adams run of Spider-Man, then you've got the Todd McFarlane run of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
you don't mix the two. They don't go together.
Right.
Like, why can't you treat the okay, then this run like James Bond, a new Captain America, a new Fantastic Four, whatever. Like, just like I said at Midnight's Edge, back then we would choke the chicken until it died.
Right.
Like it's so simple to be abusive and exploit your top line products. Even like the idiots killed off T'Challa, a Black Panther, who was a really good character. Speaking of an alternative ethnic character, I would be resurrecting Black Panther in no time. But no, everyone got so weepy because the main actor died. We got our entire society has got to, bury him and never show him again. I mean, I would never have greenlit that. Never, not in a million years.
Well, rule number one, even Lucas said it, like, you don't kill off your main actors because how you gonna sell toys? How you gonna sell toys?
No, and I don't get it. and also Marvel has this habit of killing off the bad guys too.
Right.
Like, stop it. So you know what? If I was running things after, I would taken a bit of a break after the ending thing, but then recast everybody and make them cheaper and just keep whipping these main characters to death, and then slowly bring in these unknown character like the Eternals, like maybe. I mean,
I think they're cleaning house a little bit right now, and making room for the X-Men. I think the X-Men.
It's so easy. I don't get it. And then I mean, sure, they're going to fuck up the Fantastic Four.
I said this
for a girl.
I'm so tired. I don't even care about that. I am so tired of seeing Pedro Pascal's face. He's in fucking everything.
I know.
Right? I'm just tired of seeing. I'm like, is there no actors in the world that we could pick?
No, none. There is no. They are. That's our go. That's our go-to Latinx.
Yeah, it's like when they signed this contract, they're like, yeah, you have to do 10 movies, all for Disney. We're gonna throw you into a whole bunch of different things. You're the Mando.
So for me, that Fantastic Four with Galactus, and I guess we should wrap things up.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up.
Was really important, an important series for me. 1960s, at the height of my comic book reading. Comics were comics, and here you had this galactic entity that had no feelings for the Earth, but just wanted to eat. Like, he wasn't bad, but he was like drawn phenomenal. I mean, like, you've never seen anything like that. It was huge. And he had his herald, the Silver Surfer. And, you had the ongoing story of Ben Grimm, who was always self-conscious about the way he looked, like an ugly mug. But he had this girlfriend, can't remember her name, even though I read it, like, it's my favorite. Anyway, someone in chat maybe remembers. But his girlfriend
will
was
deduct
blind.
Points. Don't worry about it.
But she was blind, and she didn't care, and she loved him, but he couldn't deal with it.
It's almost like the Beauty and the Beast type of thing.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah,
and then the Silver Surfer came, and because she also had this empathetic ability, being blind, she felt the enormity of the Silver Surfer's pain, and Ben Grimm got monstrously jealous. Like, that was relationship for me as a 14-year-old or whatever, right? Wow. That's actually guy-girl relationship stuff. Like, it was very soapy. And that's got nothing to do with the, Silver. I mean, it has something to do with the Silver Surfer turning on Galactus and saying, please leave this planet alone, and him taking the Silver Surfer's power away and forcing him to stay on the planet Earth, right? Sorry, I just gave away everything. But
spoiler alert.
Giveaway, watch the comic. But that to me was the most powerful part of that comic, was the relationship between Ben Grimm, his girlfriend, and the Silver Surfer, and the triangle, the romantic triangle that was, and what pain Ben Grimm was in, because he was always your favorite character, right?
Right.
And kind of like Wolverine, and he just blew it. He didn't tell her that he loved her, and he needed to do that, and he couldn't bring himself to do it, and he thought that he had lost the opportunity, but she still loved him. So now you've lost that with the female Silver Surfer, unless you have a lesbian relationship with the blind girl. But that to me killed me. Like, I don't mind the idea of a female Silver Surfer. Apparently there is one.
Yeah, there's one. She's in,
but
like,
it kills the whole
pages.
point of that particular adventure.
Right. Now I got what you're saying.
That's one of the best series of all time. Now we're just going to make her a girl one.
Yeah, my favorite character was Hulk, and they completely made him a beta.
Yeah. Oh, they totally screwed that up.
Yeah. All right, Paul. I appreciate your
Sorry.
time. And
There it
sorry
is.
about what? No,
I'm exhausted, but I guess I got
you're
emotional at the end there.
no, you're good. Chat, you can see Paul Chato on his channel. Call Me Chato. And what was the other channel that you had?
Appalling News.
Appalling News.
But it's
check
spelled
that out.
APAULING News because it's my name, Paul. It's appalling. Oh, that's funny. That's kind of a pun. That sounds really good.
Yeah, so I appreciate you very much for coming on the show, giving me your time,
Oh.
and having this conversation. I absolutely
Good luck.
loved, back and forth with you about the industry and whatnot. It was cool hearing that part because a lot of people have YouTube channels and they're just the people that you see, but I like to know a little bit more because I like learning about stuff. And
we all do.
So I really appreciate you coming out and giving me your time.
Chat. Bye, chat.
Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We appreciate you, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.
You can give Michael a blowjob next time you see him.
That's right.
Bye.